Rappa will lay down the beat on your enemies, and today I'm gonna tell you how to build her best. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So what relics does this ninja versed in the art of rhyme desire? None other than 4-piece Iron Cavalry against the Scourge. There isn't really any other 4-piece that you'd want to use on the ninja because this set is pretty much perfect for her. The break effect from the 2-piece is much appreciated, and Def Ignore for meeting certain break effect requirements is absolutely splendid. 250% is fairly easy to reach with buffs, and the extra 15% Def Ignore is well worth your time. 2-piece mix and match sets include 2-piece break percent and 2-piece break percent. You don't want to run any other mixed combo, as she only really takes advantage of break effect stats. 2-piece speed percent and attack percent are fine too, but double break percent will be a lot better. As for her 2-piece string and orb, simple. 2-piece Talia, Kingdom of Banditry is going to be your most consistent Rappa pick. It's very straightforward in what it offers. Tons of break effect. Very solid choice for her that will work in every scenario in which she is involved. You could also set your sights on Forge of a Kalpagni Lantern. The fire weakness condition might seem strange, but you're often going to be fighting fire weak enemies with Rappa because she'll always have Lingshaw or Gallagher in her team, so you have tons of fire toughness damage in their kits. Also, break-based bosses such as the Order have both an imaginary and fire weakness, so the 40% extra break effect is more consistent than you might think. Plus, extra speed on a speed-hungry unit is quite awesome. As for main stats, simple. Go for speed boots, an attack percent body, an attack percent orb, and a break effect percent string. Rappa has a very high need for speed, so make sure to equip her with speed boots. The break effect should be pretty self-explanatory considering that she is a break unit after all. All the attack percent is to contribute towards her A6, which rewards you with increasing the break damage that enemies take with the more excess attack that you have. As for stack goals, simple. Go for 3,200 attack, 151 speed, 180% break effect without her light cone, and 220% break effect with her light cone. 3,200 attack is enough to yield the full 8% break damage boost from Rappa's A6, and that should be pretty easy to achieve if you slap some attack percent main stats on her. 151 speed is the amount you want before buffs. She's an absolute speed fiend. You're gonna want her to move as much as possible, as more actions equals more opportunities to deal breaks. Without her main light cone, you're looking at wanting about 180% break effect, but if you do, then 220% is the target to aim for. There is genuinely no reason to diverge from using Iron Cavalry. She is a break unit through and through, so naturally all of the break-based buffs are going to be splendid for her. While Kalpagni may offer more damage for Rappa, I would still keep a Talia set around considering that we may eventually get break-based content, which does not feature a fire weakness. It's good not to place any restrictions on yourself. A ninja needs a good weapon to sneakily slice apart their enemies, so what are Rappa's light cones of choice? Well, Ninjutsu Inscription Dazzling Evil Breaker will be your absolute best bet. It's your best in slot signature light cone, so as expected, it was tailor-made for her. She'll gain a nasty 60% extra break effect from this option, and the energy regen upon battle entry means that you can enter her crazy break state faster. She also has the ability to advance herself forward with this light cone. And as you can imagine, extra Rappa turns equals more breaks. Your next best bet would be after the Charmony Fall. You'll get a nifty amount of break effect, which is absolutely delicious, and the additional speed is superb for Rappa, easily her best 4-star light cone option. There's no reason to choose any other budget Air Edition cone if you have access to it. If you haven't got that, no problem. You can opt for the free Herta Shop option of Eternal Calculus, some attack to help out with her A6, and speed to help boost her forward in the action order. If you haven't got the other two, then this is the best way to go. Unsurprisingly, her signature cone is her best in slot, but its power level does fluctuate depending on whether its advance forward offers the Lyrical Ninja an extra turn or not. The other two options aren't bad by any means. Her sig is just really busted for her. Rappa's teams are quite straightforward. She's a super break character, and I think we're all acquainted with what those types of characters tend to like in their teams. The most obvious and powerful setup which will crush all forms of endgame is Rappa, Harmony MC, Rom May, and either Lingshaw or Gallagher. This is the status quo team for break-centric DPSs, and you will find that this offers your Rappa's numbers the greatest performance. Harmony MC is fantastic for enabling super break and contributing their own imaginary toughness damage to whittle down enemy weakness bars. Raw Mei is infamously good for break teams at this stage, extending breaks, increasing weakness damage potential, offering res pen. Her utilities are boundless. Slaughter here if you can for sure. Ling Sha is really well utilized alongside the Ninja Rapper, plenty of fire toughness damage, and because these teams have a really healthy skill point economy, you're able to use the Healer Lady's skill almost every time to provide Fu Yuan with more actions. So if a target has a fire weakness, then you can rely on Ling Sha to effectively get the job done. Gallagher would be the budget-friendly alternative. Sure, he doesn't have as much fire toughness in his kit compared to his main competitor, but we all know how good this unit is. Don't underestimate him for even a second. Gallagher is still very much a wonderful key component to any break team, and the fire toughness in his ult is also pretty neat. However, you can replace Raw Mei with some others if you want to save her for your other MOC half. Note that these choices will not be as good as a regular super break team, yet they are indeed viable alternatives. Bronya works instead of her so that you can advance forward Rappa more to allow her to do more breaks. The crit and damage bonus buffs will be entirely wasted on her, but the advance forward allows her to be usable as a viable replacement option. Plus, if your Bronya is E1S1, that's even more skill points. But to be honest, you'll already have more than enough skill points in your team anyway, so that's more of a nice bonus than anything else. Either way, yeah, this'll work fine if you haven't got Raw Mei or if you're using her somewhere else. Pella technically works, but man, it does not feel as good as the 5-star options. It works as a budget replacement until you can get Raw Mei, ideally speaking. The benefits to using her are simply her debuffs and the fact that she debuffs all enemies with her ult, which, considering how Pure Fiction is Rappa's main playground, is pretty good. Yet, even so, this team definitely doesn't match the standard of the others that I've mentioned. Yet, how does this legendary ninja work? Well, her basic attacks deal some imaginary damage to a single enemy, not much else to add here. Her skill will deal imaginary damage to all enemies, nice for landing imaginary toughness on all foes you're facing, and it's especially good in Pure Fiction where the trash mobs have super low toughness bars. Not a very complex skill in general though. Her ult is where we really start to cook. She'll enter a different state and will obtain 3 points of Chroma Ink. Her break efficiency will increase by a fixed 50%, and her break effect will increase based on her trace level. Her basic attacks will then be enhanced, and you won't be able to recast her ult or use her skill while she's in this stance. As for her talent, every time the enemy is weakness broken, Rappa gains 1 point of charge. She can gain up to 10 points of this. When her ult does its third strike, she'll deal some extra break damage to all enemies. This is able to ignore all weaknesses, which consumes all of her charge stacks. Every point of charge will increase the break damage multiplier. The weakness breaks caused through this talent still count as imaginary breaks, so the enemies will be put into the yellow cage. As for Rappa's technique, she'll ride on her graffiti surfboard and enemies can't attack her while she does so. If you crash into an enemy, then you'll enter combat, causing Rappa to deal 15 toughness damage to all enemies, and deal imaginary break damage to all foes. She'll also regain 10 energy after doing so. A pretty meaty, well-packed technique in my opinion. As for her Ascension passives, simple. Her A2 will allow her to regen some energy and gain a point of charge after weakness breaking any enemy that is elite class or higher. So unfortunately, this won't be that good in Pure Fiction, but it's perfect for Apocalyptic Shadow and MOC. Rappa's A4 converts her ult's breaks into super breaks. Very cool that she is able to enable those herself. Her A6 allows Rappa to deal up to 8% more break damage to enemies if her attack exceeds 2,400. 3,200 is the hard cap on this buff, as I stated earlier. As for Rappa's trace priorities, simple, go for this. Rappa is a super break character, so you have no reason to level her basic or skill. Her main damage output has nothing to do with trace level. Leveling her talents will actively increase your Rappa's performance, and the ult provides valuable buffs to her break output. So focus on those two, level them up good, and then feel free to ignore her basic and skill. As cool as being a ninja is, that doesn't necessarily pay the bills. So let's talk Eidolons to fund Rappa's rent and groceries. This E1 is pretty good. Def Ignore is utterly busted as a boost to DPS and they slapped it down at her E1. The additional energy is just a cherry on top. This would have been an insane Eidolon no matter what with all that Def Ignore, but I suppose Rappa's E1 is the gift that keeps on giving. Wild increase to the character. The lowering of her downtime is fantastic. This will help the ninja do her breaks faster, and that equals more damage on the whole. An excellent Eidolon which effectively builds upon the last one. Big shame that they stuck the skill level down here, seeing as it has no effect on Rappa's performance performance, but the talent being down here is wonderful compensation for that. A speed boost is nuts, of course, especially for a character like her who has such a need for speed. Though I'm not a fan of it only being 12% all the way up at E4, that's equal to Ho-Ho's E1. Either way, the effects of this are still beneficial, especially because of how fast break teammates want to be. Finally, levels to your ult. The basic levels are nothing too special, but more break stats are always welcome. Naturally, she's busted at this stage. A very powerful increase to your output as it gives her a permanent amount of 5 charges from her talent. You don't need me to tell you that this is an insanely good ability. As always, you'll be able to clear the game's content just fine without this. While E0S1 is stronger if you're able to always access the extra turn, E1S0 is more consistent on the whole. Though if your Charming Icon is less than S5, or if you're using Eternal Calculus, I'd recommend chasing her signature Lycone instead. She'll be wildly powerful either way. Rappa's an impressive break DPS that'll fulfill all your super breaking needs. I mostly only have good things to say about her. If you're struggling in pure fiction, or just any imaginary weak or break favored content in general, then she's a highly reliable choice that'll crush what's in front of you. Very impressive unit indeed. Let me know your thoughts on Rappa down below as well. I'd love to hear what you think of her. Hopefully this video was able to get your Rappa colorfully slashing down her enemies. This has been Juice, signing out, and who do you think would win a rap battle between Rappa and Shilonen?